Hey, good afternoon. Tim Richardson here, and I have a special guest I'm going to introduce you. His name is also Tim Castle. So thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
As you get logged in here, find the chat area and do some shout outs. We want to know what city you're from or watching from. So that'll be fun. Find the chat area. Let us know where you're watching from. And yes, if you're thinking about buying an RV, this is the place. Or if you've already bought one a long time ago and you want to do it right this time, our goal is to help you. So we have a lot of tips and tricks and behind the scenes stuff that a lot of people just aren't willing to talk about, especially RV dealers. And so I'm going to be tapping into the expertise of Tim Castle over here. And I appreciate you joining us, Tim. Sharon White is watching from Iowa. That's pretty cool. I have a brother in Iowa. Linda in Alaska. Nice. But it's beautiful up there right now. William in Virginia. Luann in Minnesota. We're just going to wait a few minutes or a few more seconds while we get everybody in here. Kelsey in Idaho. Thanks for joining us all the way from Idaho. I'm up in Cleveland, Ohio. Tim, you're down in what, Lakeview?
Yep.
Ohio, which is 45 minutes northwest of Columbus.
Yep.
Yeah. So RV Wholesalers is kind of their headquarters there. That's where he's at. And yes, Kelsey, Rogers, Idaho, Wendy, and we also have, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Thanks for joining us, Wendy. We're loaded up with stuff. I'm going to spend a little bit more time at the front, the first couple of these 8 important buying tips, because it's about pricing and hidden fees and some of the really, really important stuff. So a lot of time we're going to make sure that everybody understands that. And then we're going to dive into some of the other things. So
okay.
Urban, Alaska, Alabama, Penny, and Idaho. Man, you guys are all over the place. So some of you, it's probably still morning, it looks like. So good morning, good afternoon. Let's get started. And Tim, this is kind of what I feel like today is going to be. It's like Tim and I will be sitting on the back, the 2 Tims in the back, kind of steering this rubber raft. And you guys are up in the yellow hats. And our goal is that by the time you get into the buying, this does not happen. That's our goal, that this does not happen when you buy an RV. We don't want you to get thrown out of the boat or injured or anything like that. So let's dive in real quick about Tim. Tim has helped with RV Wholesalers, helped a lot of people get into RVs. He has owned an RV, a Puma, has camped, has been doing this for years. So our goal is to stump him with some good questions. So the chat area is where you're going to want to do that. You're going to put your questions in there as we roll through.
Thanks.
And we might not get to them all at the exact time that they show up, because we may have one of our 8 points may be talking about, for example, extended service contracts and warranties. That'll be at the end. So we may just push some questions off. But our goal is to get to as many questions as we can. And I'll get some contact information. The whole purpose of doing these webinars, like I said, is to protect you during these crazy times of buying RV. Pricing is, as you'll hear, has been all over the board. And the owners of RV Wholesalers came to me and said, Tim, hey, we want you to help get the word out. We were school teachers. They were school teachers for 10 years in high schools before they got into the RV industry 24 years ago now. Yeah. And they just love, Mike and Dave Darnell just love to help people. They understand that there's going to be 600,000 RVs sold this year, and only a handful of those are going to be sold by RV Wholesalers in comparison to how many are going to be sold. So we understand that you can't all buy from RV Wholesalers. So this isn't a big sale.
Another big part of their story is that, they got started with this with, doing service work, helping campers. Yeah. So, that's really where their foundation comes from is doing the service part of it. That's where and then it led to something bigger and better. So.
Yeah. Taking care of people. And that's why they asked me, I'm not even on payroll at RV Wholesalers. They just wanted me to help get the word out through webinars and bring in experts like Tim today. Thanks for taking time today to do that. So,
no problem.
Yeah, my first RV. My dad actually built this thing. It's a little camper topper up in British Columbia, Canada. It protected me from bears one night, though, when I slept in there and we saw bear tracks the next morning. So, so I have a special place in my heart for RVing. So don't, love taking my family out, and been to a lot of campgrounds and a number of different RVs the last few years. So shop the out-the-door price. Here we go. Number one, shop the out-the-door price. When you start comparing apples to apples, that's the thing. It's hard to really do that the way the pricing set up at a lot of dealerships. So I want to make sure that you shop the out-the-door price, not the sale price that they put on the website or the dealer comes down. It's like, well, the MSRP is this, but here's their price. You need to ask a lot of questions. And Tim, can you explain just a little bit about this out-the-door price and why that's important? And then we'll dive into more of the hidden fees.
Yeah, no problem. So a lot of times, since we've got pretty much the most competitive price across the nation, I get a lot of calls from customers talking about, do you guys price match and do you do these things? And I said, yeah. So I said, but we need to compare prices, because when we give you our quote and our prices, it's an out-the-door price with tax, title, license, everything you're going to need. So a lot of times I'll be matching prices where, customers didn't know these things, that at the end, dealers are adding on dealer prep fees that are extra that we don't do. We typically do not charge any fees for any type of service that is pre-existing to you picking up your camper. The only thing that I would suggest people do is that you ask for your taxes and titles and fees that they're gonna put on there, because they can't not put it on there. And so by saying it's a true out-the-door price that they're giving you, it's really not, in the end, and we really don't know. So, and then another thing, the price protection guarantee that we're doing here, especially right now with the way the industry is going, it's such a busy time that, the prices are increasing on a regular basis because of tariffs overseas and just different coordination of parts and pieces not getting here in time, and manufacturers having to charge different prices. So that the trickle down effect hits the consumer along the way. It hits everybody from that point. So,
well, we'll pause right there, because that's a really huge point you just brought up. This, the price, just so you know, like when you order an RV, the dealership doesn't actually pay the factory for that RV until it comes off the line. So maybe it's customized with the particular configuration that you requested. So when that one comes off the line with your name on it, that's when the dealership actually. So what we're seeing is, since there are these price increases that Tim was just talking about happening every couple months from the manufacturer to the dealer, it's possible that you ordered it, and then during the 3 months that you're waiting for that to be custom made for you, that the price went up 2-3 times, possibly, $1,500 here, depending, like a small percentage, but multiply that times a couple of times. Yeah. It could be $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 more by the time that comes off the factory floor. Well, that's when the dealer pays for it. So I just wanted you to understand that. And so what a lot of dealerships are doing, right, Tim? A lot of dealerships will actually ask you to cover that increase, even though,
which is terrible.
Yeah, this blows me away. Like, what other industry do you buy something, put it on a deposit, have a sales agreement and a contract, and they can change the price on you? Like, how? I would never buy anything else that did that. So I don't know how this can do that. But it's happening, and that's why we want to make sure that you're aware of it and that you take steps to avoid it. So I know I was just looking at some contracts for the Cleveland, Ohio. It's like they're purchasing for the government, and they actually put in there, if you're going to bid on this, you will not be able to include any price increases by the time we actually purchase this. That's basically what you guys need to do is, because in the fine print on the last page of these sales agreements, they're putting a little clause that says what, Tim? Like, what's an example of what they'll say? This may be subject to.
This may be subject to change due to price increases from manufacturer whatever.
Yeah.
There's different lingo for each one.
Yeah, but look for that. And
each dealership.
Yeah. So you're going to ask them to cross that off, or because you want to know, like, hey, if I'm ordering and buying this today, I'm paying for this with a deposit, and I'm committing to this, I don't want you to be able to raise the price, because one, how would you ever prove how much the price really did increase? That's what we've seen issues too. Like people that have come to RV Wholesalers have said, hey, this price increase happened. The dealers, I got an email from the dealership saying, hey, it went up this much. Let's split it. We'll pay for half, you pay for half. And that's kind of a common thing. But how do you know like how much the dealer really paid? I don't think there's any way to even know, because the dealership pricing it's not like autos where they come with a sticker, it's regulated by the government, and this is the price that the factory charges the dealership, and then here's the extra fees. It's not like that at all. So it's very, very convoluted in that, a dealership, if he sells, say 1,000 RVs from this manufacturer, then he gets these rebates back. There's no way to prove how much.
No, and it's always changing.
Yeah, right.
So there's never like a set, so that there's no way to prove it.
Okay, so make sure you guys realize that. Write it when you. Number one, make sure you have a sales agreement. I don't know how many people I've talked to. I hear like, oh yeah, I put that deposit down. I'm like, so exactly what did you put the deposit on? And they say the name of it, but they don't have anything in writing. Like, are you kidding? Like, there's no price, there's no extra fees, and nothing in writing. So start with that, right? Have you seen anybody like that, Tim?
Yeah, that's why I'm laughing, but I don't need to be. But some people don't know though, Tim.
But no, it's crazy. It's because
some people just don't know. So that is our job to educate them.
The pressure of the time. It's like, if you don't grab this one that's on the lot now or whatever, it's like there's all this pressure. It's like, I want that one, or I want to get in the queue because, I don't want to be waiting too long. And I think they're just kind of forgetting that, oh, I should probably get that in writing. Like, that's the price. This is what's included. These are all the options. This is how much the tax and title is going to cost and all that. So let's move right into the next one. Know what the hidden fees to watch out for. This all kind of ties together with the pricing. In fact, I'm going to here's some of the hidden fees. I just wrote out some of them. These aren't all of them, obviously. And I'm going to give these to you. So look in the chat area right about now. You should be able to download those in here in just a second. There's a one-page PDF of this, so you don't have to write all these down. Just download the free PDF. It's just one page. So, and if you miss anything, or if you jump in late or have tech issues, we're going to record this whole thing and email it to you about 2 hours after this. So you'll get a replay of this. So sorry about that. So hidden fees.
My favorite one is the environmental fee.
Yeah, tell us what that is. Well,
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one shows up.
That's like it's made up.
Yeah, and that's exactly. It's like they kind of take something from the boating industry where the boating dealerships figured out like, hey, if we just we can charge environmental fees for if we spray this secret coating on the boat, it'll clean it. And remove all the factory oils and greases before it goes in a body of water. It was kind of created for that, and I think it's just like nitrogen in the tires. It's like these little tricks to make more money. And so that's one of those. So if you even hear of something like that, just run away from that fee. But okay, so these are not going to be hidden fees if you know about them before you put your deposit down, right? So they should all be spelled out in your sales agreement so and when you shop, you can compare apples to apples because you know every fee that's involved from the dock and title, which can you explain what that is basically?
So basically, when anybody receives a dealership, well, this is how we work. When you receive your camper at the dealership, we inspect every single camper that comes through here, regardless of what manufacturer it is. And that's called your pre-delivery inspection. Your PDI is the common term you'll hear called. Oftentimes, you'll see dealerships charging for this to do that, which I've never really understood how a dealership could charge a customer to do that when you're selling them a product. I mean, in my opinion, and this is one thing I really think that we do that is a very caring thing for the customer, as well as put our foot behind what we sell is we don't charge our customers to make sure we're sending them out with good products. We're going to inspect every camper here at RV Wholesalers, and we don't charge for pre-delivery inspection because the last thing I want is for somebody to come from Oregon to pick up a camper from me that was never inspected, and let alone tell them it's good to go, and they drive across country and something's wrong that we could have easily corrected before they planned their trip to come and get their camper.
Yeah, or like Linda from Alaska. I mean, right. Too imagine driving that far. But just on that idea, that the factory, I mean, it's kind of like their last wave of quality control inspection. They're expecting the dealership to do one last inspection after it goes across the road.
Correct.
Around, then maybe a screw comes loose, whatever. They're paying the dealership though to do that. Like they're paying them the full rate. Like it's not like, oh yeah, you get $10 if you fix them. No, they're paying their full rate. They're taking care of all the parts, and they expect the dealership to do this inspection and get it ready for the delivery.
All right.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I don't see why. I mean, what you expect a brand new working functional vehicle when you buy something expensive and big, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, I just as a company, I don't know how you can send the product down to a consumer without knowing that it's a good product that you're sending out there with your name on it. So, and then rightfully so to charge them twice because, like you said, they get paid to do it anyway. So it's not. I think that's a real common one. I'm glad you brought that one up. Number one, there, PDI is so common. What's kind of an average price, like $1,400-ish? At least, yeah. I mean, I've seen people charge as much as $2,000 for a PDI inspection, and I'm just like, and did they even really do it? So it's like
you turn on, and you turn on your furnace for the first time. If you smell like oil burning off, and the dust smell, then they didn't do it because
that takes about 10 to 15 minutes to burn off anyway.
Yeah, so that's what part of like a PDI inspection, a 180-point inspection. They fire that thing up for a half hour, let it run. They test everything, like all the way through, and you'll know that they didn't even do it. But it's huge. Like, I mean, the big chain of camping people, who I'm talking about, they charge a good amount like this for this. So that's why we want to warn you about PDI, pre-delivery inspection. Dock and title, that kind of varies state to state.
Yeah, that does. That's one thing you're typically going to always see. There's not really, and that's pretty much regulated. So that's not one you really have to have a big concern about.
If you see it popping up to like $600 or something,
that's a problem. Yeah, something might be going on then. But
Sam brought up this: if there's a tire replacement, would that constitute environmental fee, disposable tires? Okay, let's talk about tire replacement because that's the other big scam kind of. So if you're buying, say, in Alaska, California, Florida, some of these farther away states. Well, just so you guys know, pretty much all RVs, like 95% of them are made out Indiana, Goshen, that whole northeast corner of Indiana. 95% of all RVs are right there. There's a few little sub-factories in California and different places, but for the most part, when you buy an RV in those states like California and Florida, they're going several thousand miles across the road to get to that first dealership. And so some dealerships will just automatically take the tires off, put a new version of tires on, and then charge you a tire replacement fee. That's kind of what we're talking about there. There's no reason. I mean, these tires are still rated for, 45,000 miles, whatever it is. I mean, they're years of camping, and they have tire pressure monitoring systems on it. It's not like the old days where they just put whatever they had on these trailers to get them out the door.
They have contracts with certain,
So there's no reason that 2,000 miles on a pair of tires requires it to be swapped out. That would just be so that they could charge you $1,500 for a new set of tires that costs them $300 or something. It's
unheard of.
Yeah. So we've been seeing a few of those. I mean, it's just little things just to watch out for. Transportation fee, though, that is something we need to talk about. That's if you're buying a trailer that's not in Elkhart, Indiana, which you can't really buy them there. You can't buy it direct from the factory for any of these manufacturers. So you pretty much, wherever you buy from, that dealership, however far it is from that dealership to the factory, there's going to be a transportation fee because they have to go one by one with a transport service.
Yeah, somebody has to be paid to do the work.
Yeah. So so there's always going to be a charge, I guess is what I'm saying. Always expect a charge on top of the actual vehicle that you're purchasing, the RV. There's always going to be a charge to get it to a dealership or your house or wherever. So just plan on that fee. So if you're in Florida, do the math. 1,000 miles, say from Elkhart, Indiana. So just do the math from Elkhart, Indiana, how many miles? And then, I don't know, multiply it times $2-ish, $1.50, somewhere in that range. If you're seeing that they're saying, hey, it's $4,000 to get it to Florida, I would raise a red flag and ask some questions about that and push them on that. That's too much. But you just need to be aware of that so that when you're doing apples to apples, one dealership may work the price of the transportation into their cost of their RV, and one may have it separate. No matter what, it has to get to that dealership. So you want them separated out, really. At least you need to know what it is so that you can ask them to separate it so you don't have to pay sales tax on it. That's another little tip for you guys. Make sure you don't pay sales tax on the transportation. So if you're in California and there's a $3,500 transportation fee, you don't want to pay sales tax on that portion.
That's a good point too.
So that's another way to save a little money. Make sure you get it back because sometimes they don't tell you about that. And then
you stole my bullet.
Oh, did you?
That was good though.
Anything else with transportation I missed on that?
No, but it is going to be there. And like you said, it's going to be determined on the location of the dealership and what they charge to transport it from Elkhart to wherever they're located. Fortunately, we are right beside them. So,
yeah. So, I know it's not about selling for you, but so like if they are buying from RV wholesalers, which obviously you guys sell all over the nation, probably more out of Ohio than you do in Ohio, a lot more out of Ohio.
Yeah.
In Alaska, which is kind of cool.
I've sold to Alaska.
Yeah, have you really? Nice. Mm-hmm. There was a lady that came in the other day that was videotaping for our virtual RV show that we have coming up here in a week or two. And she was saying that she and her dog and her husband drove out from Washington, but they take their RV all the time to Alaska and beat it up. They had their RV for 5 years. She just put it for sale, sold it for more than she paid for it.
Oh, yeah.
5 years ago. And then she drove out and picked up an RV from you guys. So
that's happening a lot, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing. Cool. So that's the main fees I want you guys to watch out for. I know there's a lot of questions about not necessarily on our chat, but quality, like, what's happening? Like, obviously they're cranking out tons of RVs. The demand is so high. It's like, are they just, putting crap out? So I've been actually to the factories. In fact, last week I was out at the factories looking at all the 2022s and all the new stuff for 2022. And I went through, probably in the last half a year, I've been through dozens of half a dozen factories.
Yeah, I know you guys have been in a lot of them.
Yeah, and we take the cameras in and everything. Because this is one of my questions, like, is it really getting worse or better? And
you'll go find out.
Surprised. Like, I expected them to be like cranking up, like 3 shifts, like just like going crazy, just hiring people off the street that didn't know how to swing a hammer or anything. Like,
off the street.
But these are like, all these towns where these factories are like good old farm towns. Like, it's pretty cool. It's not at all like what you would expect. There's no robots making all these. Like, these are craftsmen in there, like working hard. And what they've done is they have not, surprisingly, they said, hey, we'd rather push people back, make them wait a few extra months or whatever, than have poor quality coming out. So let's not add third shifts. Let's just let's keep our pace. Let's narrow basically floor plans so that we don't have as many floor plans. Let's take the ones that people really like, that are doing, that we have the least amount of issues with as far as down the road repairs, all that kind of stuff. So they kind of picked those, and they've been focusing on those. And surprisingly, I think the quality has gone up from what I've seen. It's because before, when I went in factories several years back, they would work on one model for like an hour. They'd crank out like 10 of them. And then an hour and a half later, they would switch to another floor plan, different layout. And then I was amazed, like, how do they keep it straight? Like, you're building this one and then you're switching, a few minutes later, you're building another one. And it's like,
well, you're right. I talk to all the factory reps all the time.
Yeah.
And so one of them actually came in here and was sitting at my desk and we was talking. He said that was the plan, just that before they did it. He's like, people we build a better product, we found, when we are in routine. When it's muscle memory, you're not scatterbrained. That's like, you ever heard the old logic of trying to do 100 things at once and never accomplishing anything?
Yeah.
That's what was the problem. So now that they have actually narrowed in and zeroed in, identified where their choke points was, made corrections to be able to be more efficient, you can actually see that you're right. There is a better building process coming throughout the process, but they never had to be that concerned about it before. There was never an influx of campers like we've had since this pandemic. So once that was recognized, I think that things started to absolutely gain ground and do exactly what you said. So
yeah, because now you go in there. Last time I was at the factories, they were, days. They run the same line, the exact same thing for days. You could tell, like, they got this thing down now.
They do now.
And
yes.
Some of those factories, like Rockwood and some of those guys, it's pretty cool. Like, you'll see 3 generations. I was surprised. Like, I'll see Grandpa still doing that. He's been there 30-some years, with the company, and then his son, and then his sons. There's like 3 generations in some of these factories. It's pretty cool. If you ever get a chance, once COVID stuff, and they let you in the factories, you should do it. They don't mind doing tours and stuff. It's pretty cool. But yeah, the other thing about quality, what was I going to say? I just lost my train of thought. So I went, all excited. I want to show everybody the 2022, like, all the new features. So the first day we shot at Rockwood, they had some cool features, a few graphics, they had this floor leveling system, that was kind of cool. And then I went to some of the other brands like Cherokee and some of these guys that are like the #1 selling RV in history. And I'm like, hey guys, show me all the 2022 features. Like, we didn't change anything for 2022. It's the same as 2021. We got it right in 2021. Everyone loves it. It's working great. And we're so busy right now. Like, we just want to focus. Like, we just want to do this even better. Like, just keep the quality up. So that was kind of cool. Actually, I was impressed. If they had thrown out all these new features, they're trying and hoping that this worked, and they're getting in some of this new tech from China or whatever, like, I would be more concerned. But to hear them say, like, it's working great. People love it. And we're just going to focus on creating a quality product this year and work on quality and just keep that up and not introduce a whole bunch of other variables and new stuff, So.
I think that's fantastic. That's like the brand Jeep Wrangler. Yeah. They throughout the years, it's been the same face on there. It's been the same. They've changed with the times, don't get me wrong, but and made accommodations to do so. But they've been around forever as well, and they've built that's what they're known for, is a quality manufacturing product. So I agree with you. I think Cherokee's doing a good thing by doing that. No reason to poke the fire if you don't need to.
A lot of them, and it's not just Cherokee. A lot of them are just not really pushing hard for 2022 as far as making those changes. It's more like, hey, let's consolidate, let's buckle down and just really get these out there. If you're new to RVing, in fact, I'm going to put up a poll real quick. I'm curious how many of this will be your first time RVing. So just answer this poll and I'll let you know the answer here. Remind me if I forget. Here you go. Answer that. Like, for me, I didn't realize, like, I thought RV meant motorhome. So I didn't realize, like, RV is kind of the overall classification of
recreational vehicles.
And then under there, then you have your motorhomes, your class A, B, C.
Correct.
Then you have your travel trailers, your toy haulers, fifth wheels, your park models, what are some other ones? Hybrids, all that kind of fell under travel trailers. So that's kind of your first big questions, like what type do I want? And then after you figure out your type, if it is a travel trailer, falls into that side, how much can I tow with my existing tow vehicle, or do I need another, a new tow vehicle? So I guess if you buy your tow vehicle after you buy your trailer, then you can pick out any trailer. But otherwise, there's a little thing I made called towingcalculator.org. Have Austin type that in for us. Towingcalculator.org.
Towingcalculator.org.
You guys can go there and figure out your calculations for your weight. It'll tell you any vehicle in the last 10, 12 years. You put it in there, it'll tell you exactly how much you can tow. So you just add a little bit extra for carrying supplies and all that, and then you'll know what size travel trailer to go with, or fifth wheel. And then there's the last thing is construction type. Kind of figure out, well, I guess floor plan would be next. Figure out your floor plan. Do I want a kitchen in the front? Do I want a kitchen in the back? Do I need a bunkhouse for the kids? Just a few questions like that. And then,
this one I would do first, figure out what kind of camper you.
Yeah, so there's two types right here, this picture. Conventional construction, which is 2x2, 2x4-ish wood. It's basically like a house. They come in with a metal chassis, and then they put the flooring on, and then they build a house on top of it. Mm-hmm. It really is. It's got insulation, just that insulation. It's got 2x4 like type of construction, framed up just like a house, and then it has, instead of like a vinyl siding, it has aluminum siding on the side of it. So there's some advantages to that.
There is,
in that it's easy to change siding pieces if you ding up a piece, or it's easy to
maintain yourself more and work on.
Yep, and a lot lower cost as far as budget wise, a little easier on the budget. And then and those kind of trailers have been around for years. The nickname is Stick and Tin. If you ever hear that, that's sometimes what they're called.
I don't know they're calling that, but some people do. I like them.
No, I know. I mean, that's the trailer I've grown up in. I've never had a problem with it.
Yeah.
And just like with any trailer, you just maintain it. Check the roof.
It is a little more work.
So, and then the other one is this laminated construction. So inside of wood, you've got aluminum, welded aluminum framing inside. It's not, it's not quite as thick as the wood, so the insulation is more of a dense packed, styrofoam type of insulation. So good insulation, but they sandwich it all together with the outside wall, which is fiberglass.
Vacuum bonded.
And the Luan, they vacuum it and bond it all together. And now you got this really tight piece that makes all the walls, and then they cut out the windows and do all that. Very hard to run electric and stuff around after you doing that, if you're doing any retrofitting and stuff like that. But it is really durable if you're in Alaska and tons of potholes and like insane roads. That would be something you would want to look at. But if you're
not only that, there's the biggest difference. Sorry to cut you off, but
you're the expert.
The biggest difference for me when I talk to customers is sometimes they have weight restrictions on their tow vehicles. Okay, so that's another reason why you're going to want to look at these two different style campers. The conventional construction.
Which one's lightest?
Well, no, it's not. So typically that's going to be a heavier type camper because the wood is much heavier than the aluminum frame. So that's one thing that you're going to want to look at. Not that there isn't some conventional construction type campers out there with a lightweight, because there is.
Yeah.
But typically the laminated construction with the aluminum frame is much lighter, and it lasts. If you're not a good person to keep up with your maintenance, because it is required. A lot of people don't know that. If you're a first time buyer, one thing that I run into all the time is you have to do maintenance on these every single year. And a lot of dealerships don't explain that to first time buyers. And then they have bad experiences with maybe like a certain type of camper because they were never educated that this is what you have to do to maintain this style of camper. So that's one thing. If you're going to go with the conventional style, just understand that you might have a little more maintenance opposed to the laminated structure with the aluminum frame and things of that nature. But if you don't mind those things, that's good. That's not a problem. Some people prefer that.
Thank you. How do you prevent getting a lemon? Nobody wants a lemon. Wendy didn't see the poll. Some people said, well, just real quick on the poll. So 70% of you guys said this is your first time buying a camper. So 30% said, hey, I've already had one, want to learn from my mistakes, and are doing it again. So that's pretty cool. So we'll have some used talk too for people that are selling or trading in a camper for the 30%. If that's you, we're going to talk about that here in a second. But how do you prevent getting a lemon, new or used? Mm-hmm. Man, just like, making sure that they do a Pdi inspection. If you're buying used, here's a couple third-party inspections I just put up on the screen, nrvia.org or lemonsquad.com. Those are a couple independent guys. You can pay them $300-400. They'll come out, meet you at wherever you're buying this used RV and spend a couple hours like going through and making sure that there's no issues. But you really want to look for, what I've found is moisture damage is probably the worst thing in an RV. We see that a lot. That's what they want to take care of the roof or something, a branch falls on a roof and damages it, and that it's not taken care of properly and quickly. Water will get into the inner walls, into the floor, and it just becomes a nightmare. So anytime you're walking around an RV, make sure it's a solid floor. If there's any sponginess, below a shower, anything, anywhere, make sure you be aware of that, because that could be a major issue.
It could get costly.
Yeah, it gets. Yeah, I mean those are totaled out a lot of times. When the insurance claims and stuff, when that kind of stuff happens. So just be really.
And campers are not made to last forever.
Yeah,
not all of them.
So there's a few helpful ways to avoid lemons. And when should you buy used or new? I mean, this is kind of. I'm always a guy that usually buys like a 2-year-old car. I've actually never bought a brand new car, honestly. But when it comes to RVs, I changed my mind about that. So after being in a bunch of RVs, in fact, I took a brand new RV to Jellystone. It's in Mount Gilead, Ohio. It's a really nice campground. Been there a few times with my family. One time we pulled in. We had 2 RVs, one for our friend David, who hosts our virtual RV show, him and his wife. And we had 2 RVs there, and one of them was a Wildwood. And this other family pulled up beside us, and they had a very similar shape and same layout, everything, RV. And theirs was, they said 3 years old, or no, 7 years old. They had purchased it 3 years prior. They were looking at this new Wildwood, like, oh man, this is perfect. Same layout as ours.
I like Wildwoods.
Yeah, it had all the windows. I mean, it's real airy and nice inside, and just really cool. They loved it, and then they started. It's like, hey, yeah, they were telling me, and like, yeah, we paid. They paid $16,000 for theirs at the time, is what they told me when they bought it 3 years ago, and then I felt bad because the Wildwood that they were looking at was only $15,500, and it was how long spanking new. Theirs was 7 years old. They paid more for their 7-year-old one 3 years ago than they could have bought the brand new one last year for that price, and it had all the new features, had Bluetooth speakers, like all the bells and whistles, and it didn't have any wear and tear, no water damage, nothing. Like it was just. I felt bad. So I would definitely, especially the way the used prices are right now. And
yeah, people are getting astronomical prices for used campers right now just because people are in a rush to get a camper. Can I tell a story about that real quick?
Yeah.
Sorry. So I had a customer one time. He ordered a Rockwood, and he waited, 4 to 5 months to get it. He didn't want to wait, but he did. He was kind of, he's like, oh, this is what I want. So he did. Well, he was price protected with us. there is a positive to doing it like that and getting a new camper, because when he got his camper, the value of his camper was worth like $4,500 more than what he paid for it with us. So because the price increases throughout the building process for his camper.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. When he came to pick it up, he was so happy. He almost gave me a hug, and I was like, "Hey," and he's like, "Thank you so much." I was like, I didn't know what I did that was so great. I thought I just was like being routine, like I try to give the best service. But he's like, "I'm so happy." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Man, this camper is worth $4,500 more than what you sold it to me for." I was like, "Well, that's great." So there is a positive to the price lock guarantee that we offer here, and if you do order from us and you wait, so it's not all negative.
Well, that's the thing. I was just the next slide is kind of interesting, is because this is actually a real picture of my family just a couple of weeks ago. So my daughter is on the right.
Is your daughter the one in the military on there?
Yeah. Yep. So she's in the Army, and then my son.
Thank you for her service, by the way.
Yeah. Thanks. And thanks for yours as well.
You're welcome.
And my son is right behind her, and then I'm right behind there in the green shirt. Anyway, all that to say, we were in the Smoky Mountains. We got to enjoy all of this. We didn't have an RV to take with us, so we just stayed in a camp. It was like a resort, but it was in the mountains. We got to do all this nature stuff. Like we had a blast going hiking, national parks, like everything that we would normally do when we go camping. We got to do all that. And we didn't have an RV, which what all I'm saying is, like, right now, don't get ripped off. Like, don't spend an extra. I mean, we're seeing people spend tens of thousands, not just 1,000. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars more to get something right now. Like, man. I haven't seen it. Haven't you seen this?
I just went through it with a couple last week.
Yes.
I was like, man, really? So they didn't want to wait 4 months. They wanted to camp right now. They spent $7,000 more on a 2 years older camper of the same. I'm like, man, how many camping trips could you go on for that kind of money? Like $7,000 would pay for a nice resort to stay in for that one camping trip that you're missing, and still get the camper you want. I don't understand the logic behind it. So it's just like, I guess it's because us as a society is like a microwave society anymore. We want everything in a minute, and we want it how we want it right now. So
yeah, but that's what my point was. Like, man, like if you want to get ready for next camping season, order something now. If you're figuring out exactly what you need, order it now and get exactly, have it custom built for you.
Right.
And, do this, rent an RV or rent a resort. You can rent cabins. You can rent cabins at all these campgrounds. In fact, it's actually probably easier to get in a cabin if you're last minute like this right now than it is to have a spot for an RV, without like getting reserved like a year ahead, whatever. So for this year, that's what I'm recommending, because you'll get a 2022. Those are just starting to come out, and you'll get exactly what you want, and you'll save tens of thousands.
In the end,
if you buy it, right, and
and just imagine what they paid with financing, and the interest that they're going to pay on that extra $7,000 that they're spending. They're probably really going to spend more like 10 to 11.
Yeah,
and I'm just when you really put everything into perspective. So,
well, we just saw one a Nexus one. One of the guys just saw this last week. Is they were selling a used one for $160,000 or something like that, and the new one, that was like 3 years old. The new one was the same price. Like they wanted it right then, so they were willing to spend an extra $40,000 just to. It's just hard to believe, but anyways, get the most for your trade-in. Can you help folks out? Like, if 30% of our people already have an RV or had one, if they still have it and they're thinking about trading it in, how do they get the most for their trade-in?
This is a hard one.
So do it.
I know, threw that in there on me. So trade-ins are really tricky right now. You've heard us talk about many things here throughout the webinar about how much people are paying for used campers and the outrageous price. We do trade-ins here as well, and so does everybody else. But there's no reason for a dealership right now to give a great price on a trade-in. Not that they don't give a great price. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying anybody in particular. But consumers, if for some example like us, we're a wholesaler. We sell at a wholesale price for brand new custom ordered campers. We can't go and offer you for last year's model or the 2 years before what we're selling new ones for. So with people that come in here, I'm just be honest with you. A lot of times I tell them to sell it on Facebook Marketplace or things of that nature, because you're going to get more for your trade-in at the moment if you sell it outright. As you can hear,
have to pay a commission to the salesperson. You have to clean it up, inspect it, almost guarantee it, all that kind of stuff. You have to add dollars to protect yourself.
Inspection and stuff like that. So trade-in right now is probably going to be a hard thing to get a good value on it. For me to say that. So we'll look at what the wholesale value is, but we can't sell it for more than what the wholesale value is. So, because then consumers are saying, well, why are you selling used campers for the same price you're selling brand new campers? It just doesn't fit for the business motto, you know? So, but not that we don't give great prices on them, because we do take in some trades, but they need to be in good shape. But I really think that Facebook Marketplace and RV Trader and things like that are the best way.
You pay just a little bit, but you get it listed on an RV Trader. It's kind of a national publication. They have print and web, and
that's a good one.
Facebook Marketplace, so that one, surprisingly, that's a lot better than the Craigslist and all that now. And people don't just focus on your little community. Like, people are coming states away for these used ones. So
so
don't put it too low to start. Like, start it high, and then you can always come down. But man, don't be afraid to put it high and test the waters, because right now people are just losing their money.
Yeah. So I had a customer. He had, I forget what kind it was, but he did exactly what I just said, because we gave him the wholesale price trade-in, and he just wanted to get a little bit out of it. He put extra things on it and stuff like that. But when you do a trade-in, that's not what dealerships look at, all the extra little parts and pieces that you particularly liked. It's about what the wholesale value of that camper is. So I told him, I said, hey, man, your camper is going to take about 4 to 5 months to get in. Just list yours and see what happens until then. I said, this is what we would offer you in case you don't sell it. I said, but maybe you'll sell it in time of then and we'll be good to go. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Well, he listed it, and within 24 to 48 hours, he had like 15 people in his inbox. He was like, oh, my gosh. He's like, I've got to tell them that they need to wait a little bit because I got a couple camping trips. He goes, mine ain't going to be in for a couple months. And he's like, I had no idea. And so he was overwhelmed, and he sold his within like 2 to 3 weeks. And he was just like, man, I can't even believe that happened. I was like, yeah, me neither. But it's like that right now.
Yeah. And so just take a few good pictures of it. I mean, just use your phone. I mean,
it don't matter.
Great. Make it easy. Cool. That's really helpful. If people want to know like how much their thing's worth, don't you have access to the NADA books? Like that big
You can do it right online too.
NADA.
NADA has a website
or something. Okay, cool.
You can go right in there. You type in your VIN number and everything. But yeah, I mean, if you need help, if you don't have internet or something, and you need me to do that for you, I can do that. I'll help you. But I don't have time to just be looking up campers all day. But I'm pretty busy helping my customers. But at the same time, I will do everything I can to assist you. But I would go to NADA.com, and you can just type in your VIN number or the style, whatever it's very user friendly.
Yeah, that's a good research. That's how you figure out the value. Here's Tim's contact information. If you're afraid to ask a question, a lot of you guys are quiet, so don't be afraid to put questions in the chat. We'll try to get to them. But here's his email if you'd rather just email him or call him directly. Tim Castle. I'll put this up again at the end, Tim. But there's something really good and helpful for people, and it's this big dealer financing secret. You got to tell them what happens behind the scenes, because most dealerships, and this isn't just for RV dealerships, right? This is autos, boats,
everything.
So pretty much anything big ticket item that you finance
through a dealership.
And I didn't even know that. Like, I had no idea this was going on. Like, I always thought cash was king. You know, you make a cash offer, that's going to get you the best deal, and all that. Those days have changed. And can you explain what this big dealer finance secret is all about?
Sure, no problem. So any type of financing that you do with any type of dealership, like Tim was saying, whether it be the boat industry, car, etc., they get that dealership in return for doing business with those national institutes, get what is called a dealer reserve funding check back to them. What that check is a money that is just given back to the dealerships for creating the business. Well, what RV Wholesalers does is builds in that dealer reserve check that's given to us in our quoted.
Time out. So you're saying the dealer reserve check is basically money from the bank that's going back to the dealership for writing. It's almost like a commission from the bank, like you call it dealer reserve, or I wouldn't call it a kickback because it's not like illegal, but
I mean, that's what it is, though.
It's basically a commission or a kickback. Okay, so
that's not. You're right. We should call it that. We're not like mafia.
So the bank gives money to a dealership for writing the paper, basically taking care of the legwork. Okay, that makes sense. And so are we talking like a few $100s here? Or
I'm talking thousands of dollars. So on some of them, even upwards of almost $10,000.
So if you're buying like a big motorhome or something.
Like you mentioned, an Nexus. Some of those are some big dealer reserve checks that come back to these people, and it's unheard of that they don't even mention it to their customers. We look at it as unfair business practice, is what we look at it. So we educate.
That's what you do. I know it's kind of cool because the owners, Mike and Dave, like we were talking about, that back in the early days, they had built in their cost to do business, the profit margins they needed to make to support all the families that are part of RV Wholesalers, and they said, "Okay, we're good here." And then all of a sudden, the bank.
Oh yeah. I remember them saying this story. He was telling us this story in a meeting not too long ago. He was like, he said they just started getting these checks one day, and they were like, "Where are these coming from?" And they didn't from the bank. And him and Dave looked at each other. It was like, we don't know. They started reaching out like, why are you guys sending us money? And they explained that to him. They're like, oh my gosh. It's like, okay. I know it's funny, but that's a true story. I remember sitting in a sales meeting and they told us that one day.
That's why you don't hear about this from other dealers, because they are using that to, put in their asphalt parking lots and their margin hall, or whatever. But none. So what do you guys do? Obviously, they didn't plan on it, so they said, "Hey, how can we help our customers with this money that we didn't even need? We didn't plan on. We didn't budget for it."
Well, they didn't feel like it was theirs. They felt like it was the consumers because they're the ones doing the financing.
Right.
They're the ones,
interest.
It just felt like the right thing to do is to give the money back to the people that deserve it. And so that's what they do. No other dealership that I know of that does that or even wants to talk about it when you bring it up. So I've purposely done it to see if.
Oh yeah, you got to do it.
I had to. I did. I called a couple of places and I was just like, "Hey, what is this thing about?" And I already knew what it was, but I was like, "Hey, can you?" They're like, "We don't know what you're talking about." I'm like, "Come on."
The sad thing is, a lot of salespeople in these car dealerships in different places, like me, I didn't even know this was going on behind the scenes. Like, I don't even think the salespeople know. Like, half of them, it's the managers, and the finance and F&I guys. Like, those guys know, obviously.
Right.
Like, sometimes, you can't beat up your sales guy, but what I would do is I would hold this card to the end if you're buying your next car or whatever it is. And but
not only that, why do you want to buy from somewhere? It's in the RV industry.
Yeah.
That would do that and not tell you the true story. For me, that's why I work here, for one, because we are very transparent in how we do business, and that's a good feeling, to be able to be that way.
Yeah, no, it's good to hear. But yeah, so don't be afraid to use this when you buy your next anything, because there's a lot of money that's sitting there that you can either get part of. I know your coworker Eric, he just used it when he bought a used Harley from a dealership.
Yeah,
he got a couple $1,000 back, or like. It works. So don't be afraid to ask. Like that little nugget that you just gave us is worth thousands of dollars for these folks. So makes it worth our time this afternoon to make sure you guys understand how that works. And then I know some people have been saving cash, they sold the house, whatever, they've retired, they've been planning to buy an RV at some point in cash. I mean, don't want to waste money on interest. Can't blame you there. And
I got you.
Yeah, so basically the way around that, the requirement is how long?
Well, it depends on the amount financed typically.
Okay.
And it's a little bit different too. So when you start inquiring about financing in the recreational business, it is different than the car industry. So don't have the same expectations that you would in a car. So typically in the RV industry, a longer loan term is going to have a better interest rate. Okay, which makes no sense.
Yeah,
to do it like
that's too, right? It's different.
But they're betting on the fact that you're going to leave the life of the loan open that long, first of all. But what it does is it makes for a more affordable payment for most consumers, because if something does go wrong, as far as people falling on hard times, the COVID pandemic, things of that nature, where are you going to go find a camper and repossess it in the mountains somewhere? Who's going to do that? On the side of a hill somewhere, somebody's got these things parked. So they want it to be affordable, first of all. So that's why some of the terms are, as long as they are, they don't really have that type of capability. So, but what's cool about it, it's a simple interest loan. So with that being said, most people that have the cash money to pay cash money, they can still take advantage of the finance discount by paying everything off on the first payment, which leaving 11 payments remaining to fulfill the 1-year requirement, which is what the bank asks for you to keep that reserve check that they provide with no penalties. That's the best way to do it. And then you will recalculate the day's interest on that first payment. You've made the lump sum, leaving 11 remaining payments open to fulfill that requirement. It'll recalculate that day, and you might pay a minimal amount of interest on 11 remaining payments of let's say $2,500 or whatever, maybe paying interest on that opposed to paying interest on $35,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's really the best way to take advantage of the finance discount and still pay cash money and not be like, oh, I'm just paying towards the interest and they're going to get it some way. Yeah. The bank's betting on you to leave the life of that loan open for the full term, like most Americans would. Not everybody's in that position to be able to do as you.
It's nice. It's not like you're cheating the system. That's the way they spelled out the rules. So 12 months, you throw away $100, $200 in interest to gain several thousand. It's like a no-brainer.
Right.
And it may not be for everybody, but definitely a way to save a lot of money. Sam asked, does the dealer reserve check get issued by the bank when the loan's totally paid off at the beginning of the loan, or when? So basically, you can answer that.
So that comes off the top of the price. And then what happens is, if you don't follow the terms, like I just explained, of the
12 months or whatever.
Leaving it open to 12 months. Then as long as you follow those terms, you're good. But if not, you would be penalized the reserve amount.
And that's because
then we don't get the money.
Yeah, because you guys,
it's at the end.
Like RV Wholesalers, for example, is the dealership will say. So they're basically spotting you
correct.
It's a $5,000 dealer reserve. They're spotting you the $5,000, taking it off the price that you normally pay, and then in 12 months they'll get a check for $5,000 that they replenish the money they gave to you without interest. So
correct.
From the bank. So they're basically spotting it to you. So if you end up refinancing it with another company 6 months later or whatever, paying it off, then they haven't met the 12 months, so then they're going to ask for that money back, basically, right? Something like that.
It's because then we don't get the money from the bank, because it's not our money. to get. It's the
so that's how it works, Sam. Good question. Number 8, understanding extended service contracts. That's big. I know you guys, that was one of the big questions. Like, okay, if I'm Sam in Hebron, Kentucky, or if I'm Penny in Idaho and I'm out in Alabama or Pennsylvania, like some of these guys, like, how in the world do I get service? So I know, like, I'm up in Cleveland. When I go camping, I'm in Nashville, or not Nashville, but like Smoky Mountains, Tennessee. I'm in Michigan. Like, I never really camp. Like, if I bought my RV down the street in Cleveland, I never would be getting service in Cleveland. I would be getting service if it broke down far away. You know, like, it never breaks when it's just sitting here at my house. it's
right.
You know, like Murphy's Law. It's like when you're farthest away from your dealer and your house, that's when it's going to break. So I know that's got to be a question a lot of people ask you, like, how do you guys take care of me if I'm multiple states away? So how do you do that? And then I'll talk about extended service contracts in the last minute.
Okay. So we have a nationwide service network that we have generated throughout the years of business that we have, and it grows every day. I think it's like 2,600 different locations across America. And all you got to do is, with us, call in. We'll find you the nearest location wherever you're at. We even provide itinerary trips, actually, for our customers. If, say, you're leaving Cleveland and traveling down to Florida, all along the way, we can show you the different service locations that are utilized throughout our network, just in case you are in an RV motorhome or whatever it is that you need to stop and get service along the way. It doesn't matter where you're at in America. We have a service locator. You can call in here and say, hey, do you guys have the nearest location for me to get service, and can you help me get assistance with that? So we do all that
you've vetted, and that you basically pay the warranty bill if it's a warranty issue.
So with us, yes, we'll even pay if you have the extended service contracts. We'll even pay for that up front for you with the RVW bill pay that we provide for our customers. That's something that we also do. Just because it's the right thing to do. You don't have to fight with these manufacturers to get somebody to help you, as far as, like, if you bought at a local dealer. 98% of them, you have to bring it back to that local dealership to get it worked on. Like you were saying, what are you going to do if you're hundreds of miles away? Well, bring it on back here and we'll help you out. Well, I can't get it there is the problem. Or you got the headache of the manufacturer dealing with thousands and thousands and thousands of people. You're probably not the first on the list to get help. So, you know, we recognize that in the industry, and what we've done is we've created the nationwide service network that we utilize for our customers, only to provide them service anywhere they camp or travel in America at any time.
Cool. Thank you for explaining that.
You're welcome.
The other thing, extended service contracts, I know if you have to go hang out for just a couple more minutes, I have something really cool to offer you that stuck with us. And I'll put up your contact information too while I talk about extended service contracts. I was kind of the guy that my dad taught me, like, don't waste your money when you check out on those extra warranty things. Mm-hmm. And then I started camping. I'm like, oh, goodness, like, banging this thing down the road. I was like, wow, like, how does that refrigerator stand this? And then I realized, like, and you can't just go to Home Depot and buy a replacement. They don't sell
no, it's much different
solar, refrigerators that fit in little spaces. I was like, didn't realize, like, those things are thousands of dollars, and man. So that's when I started realizing, like, you know what, these service contracts make sense, but which ones really pay the bills? So that was my big question.
Would you buy a brand new car and drive it off the lot without having a warranty on it?
Right. Yeah. I mean, and they really don't. RVs really don't come with much warranty from the factory. It's like a year, and then it's
1 year, and it doesn't even cover everything that's expensive.
Yeah. So definitely think about that. There's 2 types. Write this down. You've got stated. That's one type where they state what's covered on it. You see this pretty popular, like with some of the Good Sam warranties and different things. So it states, like, hey, we cover the refrigerator, we cover this. The issue you got to watch out for is if a inverter is not on the list and it goes bad and damages refrigerator that is on the list, then they'll tell you, like, well, the refrigerator was covered, but it's not covered because it was damaged by something that's not covered. So we can't help it. this wasn't covered and it took out these 3 things, and good luck. So that's the issues with stated. So usually they're a little bit less costly, but they don't pay the bills as well as the kind of the opposite, which is almost, it's like looking in the mirror. It's the total opposite. It's called the exclusionary, which everything is covered. The whole stinking RV, I didn't mean that. The whole beautiful RV is covered, except these excluded items, except for brake pads, because you need to change your own brake pads. These are wear and tear items. So those are the excluded things on that list. It's a real small list usually. And that's really the one that pays the bills. Make sure you get a reputable warranty group. It's like A+ rating. It's kind of like insurance ratings. They have them for this. So check that out. I know you guys carry some different ones. What's one of your big ones? Do you have a name of one of the big ones you guys sell? As far as what? Extended warranty service contract.
We got several of them. We have the 4-year exclusionary coverage, like you were mentioning. That's what we carry. Assurance.
Yeah. What brand do you carry?
It's Assurance, I believe. I don't do the warranty part, but that would be a question for one of the warranty guys.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, so ask those questions, but you definitely want exclusionary if you want to get one that really pays the bills. If you're budgeting, I would say budget 10% for a good one.
One thing else we don't often mention about, you're going to need insurance on your RV.
Yeah.
As well. So, that's one thing that is commonly forgotten, that you have to carry insurance on them as well.
Yeah.
So
budget for that.
If you need help with that, we have that as well.
Yeah, and you guys can bundle it, So there's cool things you can do. So anyways, take a picture. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We tried to dump as much as we could in this hour. And if you take a picture of this screen right here and email it to Tim Castle, tcastle@rvwholesalers.com. The first 2 people to email this to Tim, I'm going to let him, if you're ordering one of these here in the next week, and I'm going to ask him to give you $500 off delivery for it. So,
all right.
Can you do that? So the first
write that
down. First 2 people that email you, tcastle@rvwholesalers.com, he's going to be able to hook you up with a $500 delivery credit to help with offset some of the cost of getting it to your house. But yeah, very cool, man. I'm glad we got to cover all this. Tell us what you're planning to do with an RV. That'll be fun. My goal is to get out to Mount Rushmore. I want to take a motorhome out there and see the Mount Rushmore. I know one of the owners just went on a 2-week trip, I guess.
David did.
We got to see this, and I'm kind of jealous. I haven't got there yet. So it's still on my bucket list. What's on your bucket list for your RV? Shoot that in the text. I'm going to hang out in the chat for a couple minutes, answer any more questions. And then, this is Tim's information. If you have any questions we didn't get to you, afraid to ask, or come up later, just give him a call. He can get you a good deal and help you figure out.
Email's the best.
Yeah,
a lot of times, because I'm on the phone quite a bit. But
okay, cool. Yeah, so you can answer a lot of questions, help them kind of walk through that process of narrowing it down to what meets their family's needs and grandkids and all that kind of stuff. So. Cool.
That's the fun stuff there.
Yeah, I know, right? Thanks, Tim, for taking time to share all this information, and hope you guys learned a lot. Take care.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll see you.
Bye.